Hello my friends, welcome to the Electric Viking. Just want to make a shout out to a few of you who have sent me messages. A lot of you about potential ideas for videos, questions, and I really appreciate your support, making contact. Really stoked to hear from you. So thank you to Brian, Shane, Goran, Michael, Martin, Stephen, Anvar, Daniel, Wally, Steve, Jeff, Tanvir, Uri, Douglas, Steve Brack, Carl Wicks, Bob Hayward, and to be honest, there's about 100 others, but it's going to take me too long to list all your names, so my apologies for that. Now, I just made a video about BYD coming to the United States. They're currently hiring for after-sales staff in the United States to sell their passenger vehicles. And on the same day I made that video, Brian Reed contacted me to share with me this story. I just tried reserving a Cadillac Lyriq at exactly 1 p.m. today. I filled out the information and entered my credit card and pressed proceed to reserve my Lyriq. The screen never went through. All reservations were full. I called my dealer to complain, and he said that only 1,500 Lyriqs were available for the debut edition. Now you're probably thinking, oh, that doesn't matter, it's just the debut edition, right? Well, here is the real frustrating thing. The dealer said that I will not be able to order a Cadillac Lyriq until August 2022, 1 year away. That means they are only going to build 1,500 Cadillac Lyriqs from January 22 to June 2022. GM has no EVs for sale right now. And you're probably saying, well, hang on, doesn't GM sell the Bolt? Well, GM's actually stopped selling the Bolt because, unfortunately, they are setting themselves on fire. In fact, GM has told Bolt owners to park 50 feet away from other cars, and they've extended their EV production halt. From Clean Technica, General Motors has told some of its Chevy Bolt owners to park 50 feet away from other cars so they won't be at risk of a spontaneous fire breaking out, Bloomberg has reported. The automaker has recalled around 142,000 Bolts sold since 2016 because the batteries can catch fire and are catching fire. This has cost General Motors $1.8 billion so far, and Bloomberg noted that owners will be even more upset by the news since they are already limiting the use of their Bolt so that it doesn't overheat the battery. Now, obviously, this issue isn't just an issue for General Motors. It's also an enormous problem for LG Chem, or LG Energy Solutions, as they like to be known these days. Now, LG Chem are desperately pivoting right now to move to lithium iron phosphate batteries. But to be frank and honest with you, the production of those batteries is a long way off. They're not currently producing them. They're currently in their kind of testing stage. So, what does this mean for LG Chem? Well, LG Chem have lost a number of contracts recently. And like I've said in my battery video, they are second place. They are the second largest battery company in the world. But their sales have significantly declined in comparison to their direct competitor CATL within the last few months. And of course, there's going to be massive issues with their trust, the perception of trust from companies like General Motors, who will they continue to use LG Chem? Well, a number of manufacturers have recently moved away from LG Chem, including Hyundai, which had to do a similar recall to what GM have done with the Bolt, except GM's Chevy recall for the Bolt has been far worse. So the situation we find ourselves in right now is General Motors doesn't have any EVs to sell. No, sorry, I'm wrong. They have 1,500 that they intend to deliver within the next 12 months. Now, some General Motors Bolt owners have said they no longer want their car. Upon hearing the news that they pretty much can't use their car, some GM Bolt owners are selling their EVs back to GM, with CNN also noting that General Motors have recommended that Bolt owners restrict the use of their cars to avoid straining the batteries and park them away from their homes after conducting interviews with Bolt owners. Now, obviously, it's fair enough that some of these owners aren't comfortable with owning these cars anymore. If you've been told that you can't park your car near a house or near other cars or near other people, would you really feel comfortable with driving it? I don't think I would personally. Now, one owner said they weren't comfortable having the vehicle at this point, and that GM didn't even know how long it would take to resolve the issue. And that's one of the biggest problems here. GM hasn't told customers how long it'll take to resolve this issue. What really disappoints me is two things here. One, General Motors, and in combination with LG Chem here, has basically produced a faulty product. Now, of course, there are battery fires in EVs occasionally now and then, but this is not like this. There isn't. This is on a completely different scale. This is a significant issue, and it's really giving people this false impression of the EV market overall, that it is a problem, that fires in EVs are an issue, when in fact, fires in petrol and diesel gas vehicles are in fact more than 10 times more likely. Way more likely. But unfortunately, of course, the news media is going to jump on this issue. Electric cars setting themselves on fire. So GM really, and unfortunately with LG Chem, has just set this kind of example, and they're kind of promoting the industry in this negative way. In addition to that, I mean, GM is not giving owners closure. They're not saying when is this problem going to be solved. Even if they don't know, just give them some time frame. There's none of this happening. In addition to that, they release a new car, Cadillac Lyriq. Huge amount of marketing goes into this car. People say, wow, this car looks fantastic. It does. It looks fantastic. It's got a big battery pack. The price seems reasonable for this type of car it is. It looks luxurious. Looks really nice. It looks pimp. I mean, to be honest, it looks pimp. But what do? They release pre-orders, right? And people trying to pre-order the thing on the very minute they release the pre-orders can't even get a pre-order because they didn't tell anyone that they only had 1,500 vehicles coming out over the next 12 months. They didn't tell anyone. This is like false advertising, really, where you tell people they can get an amazing product, and then you say, no, we don't really have it for sale. Only 1,500 of you. I mean, obviously thousands of people want it. They close the pre-orders at 5:19 p.m. But between 5 o'clock and 5:19 p.m. in those 19 minutes, thousands of people couldn't even use the website because it was just not working, because there was just too many people trying to pre-order. So realistically, we don't even know if anyone who tried to pre-order between 5 and 5:19 was actually able to secure a vehicle. There's no evidence that anyone was able to. Those 1,500 vehicles might have already been spoken for by dealers who then wanted to mark up the price. It's a common technique, a common tactic in the industry for car dealers in the United States. Now, I know some of you on the channel here support the idea of car dealers, but the truth is, unfortunately, in the United States especially, there is a history of car dealers doing dodgy things like this, marking the price up, putting on their margins. In Australia, the same thing happens. Unfortunately, car dealers are giving themselves a bad name. GM is giving themselves a bad name with all these recent issues. Now, GM has said, Mary Barra has said, the company is going to try and focus on EVs. They've upped their spending. They've gone from this many billions to this many billions and this many billions. The numbers are looking good. And then they come out. What do they say? They say they're aiming to electrify 40% of their vehicles by 2030. 40%. And I know that was a joint statement with Ford and Chrysler and Stellantis and whoever else. Doesn't matter. 40%. The reality is, based on those numbers, GM is simply not taking electrification of cars seriously. They're simply not taking what the customer wants seriously. They know there's enormous demand for electric vehicles. We've spoken about this enormous demand before. The Cybertruck has 1.3 million pre-orders. The Tesla Model 3 had 400,000 pre-orders. The Ford F-150 Lightning had 45,000 pre-orders within 48 hours. Now the pre-orders are up several hundred thousand, and Ford is doing the same thing. They can't deliver the vehicles. Their pre-order wait time now is going out for several years. It's ridiculous. These mainstream car manufacturers are basically saying to people, we can't give you the cars that you want. And BYD is saying, well, we'll come to your market now. Hi, guys. We'll come and sell you some cars. And GM and Ford, what are they doing? I don't know. Can someone tell me what they're doing? Because I don't know what they're doing, and I don't think they do either. Now, there's a great comment on Clean Technica talking about GM's directive to tell people to park 50 feet away. To put this into perspective, says Big Woo, if all 142,000 recalled vehicles were parked with GM's 50-foot distance recommendation, it would require 509 million square feet, or 11,685 acres, 4,729 hectares, or 11.2 square kilometers. For comparison, the famed Boneyard AMARG aircraft storage facility in Arizona is only 1/4 the required size. I suppose they could always line them up on a deserted roadway 1,721 miles long. That's the distance between New York City and Austin. Now, I don't mean to laugh at this or make fun of it, because I actually genuinely feel sorry for the owners. Do you want to go through this situation? Hell no. I put myself in their position. Would I want to go through this? Hell no. That's terrible for these owners of these Bolts. And what about if you're wanting these Cadillac Lyriq? GM's been marketing the hell out of it. You've been thinking to yourself, wow, I'm excited for this product. And you know, when you get a thing in your mind, you start to think, I really want this thing. I really want this thing. And you start to dream about it, and you start to think how cool it'll be when you have it. And you start to, and it's a form of delayed gratification. You think, well, I'm putting off this gratification because I'm ordering a product that's going to come in a year. And you think, well, this is a good thing. And when I get it, I'm going to be so excited. And then GM says, okay, we're going to release pre-orders now. And you go and you try and get one. And you try and you press a button, and you can't. And you think, well, I would call my dealer. And then your dealer says, no, you can't buy one. Not at least for a year. They're only making 1,500 of them. And then who knows in a year? How many are they going to make the next year? GM hasn't said 3,000 for the next year. I mean, Hyundai is doing the same thing. The Ioniq 5, how many are they selling? Everyone wants one. In Australia, there are there's 10,000 people here in Australia that want one. Imagine how many there are in the United States. And Hyundai is now delaying the delivery of those vehicles. Now, EV manufacturers, unless they really start to get their shit together, and I'm talking primarily here, General Motors, Ford, Hyundai as well, unless these guys just suddenly change what they're doing really quickly, there's got to be a Kodak moment for all these companies. And I can't say this enough times. How many times do I need to say this? Why are these companies not watching this channel? I feel like I'm single-handedly propping up the share price of BYD. But the thing is, it's not even true, because the reality is the market is starting to notice what's happening. They're starting to say, okay, we see what these guys are doing. We see that what customers want. We see you're not giving them what they want. We see that these Chinese car companies are giving customers what they want at a price they can afford, and you're not. And so what's going to happen? The writing's on the wall. And I don't want this to happen, because I don't think it's a good situation for all these car manufacturers basically to be more or less Chinese owned, except for Tesla, and except for, maybe one or two, maybe Volkswagen as well, the Volkswagen Group. I mean, let's pray that they fully take advantage. Let's pray that the Volkswagen Group are able to take advantage of this situation and become one of the largest automakers in the world, because otherwise we've got the Volkswagen Group and Tesla, and really everyone else is going to be Chinese, because no one else is really taking this seriously. They're saying things like the Renault saying things that they are, and then all of a sudden they say crazy things. I mean, they say, oh yeah, but we're going to go to court and fight the European Union on their decision to ban ICE vehicles in 2035. And on the one hand, they said in 2030, 90% of their vehicles are going to be electrified. So why would they be fighting in 2035 the ban on ICE vehicles? Well, then it turns out, actually, we weren't telling the truth. We're not actually going to do that. 90% we made it up, basically. This is crazy. This is crazy because China is going to own an enormous part of the market. We're going to be so dependent upon China for so many things. And that is not it's not good for the world to be dependent on any one country for one thing. And especially when it comes to your automotive industry, because that is such an enormous industry. So what I'm saying, if you're listening, General Motors, Ford, Hyundai, Stellantis, Chrysler, BMW, all of you, ICE car manufacturers, you need to change now. You need to pivot. Toyota, it's too late for you. But everyone else, no, seriously, Toyota, everyone, you must pivot. This is what the market wants. Look at the customer demand. Look at the wait lists. Look at the orders, the pre-orders. We have never seen anything like this in the automotive industry ever. There has never been these kinds of wait lists. There has never been these kinds of pre-order lists. There has never been 1.3 million pre-orders for a vehicle in history. Ford has never had more than 200,000 pre-orders for a vehicle. They've never had more than 20,000. And all of a sudden they bring out an EV and there's more than 200,000 within a short space of time. Surely, Ford, come on. You must know. Surely, GM, you must know. You make 1,500 Cadillac Lyriqs and people are literally banging down the door for one. And yet, you have no interest in supplying that demand. Thanks for watching the channel. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye-bye.